hello and a warm welcome. You're watching Business at 9 with me, Jude Sanatha, and my colleague Shibani Garath right here in our Mumbai studios. Shibani, an eventful evening, no doubt, given that the FOMC meet is underway. I believe it's around 12:30 a.m. that we'll get to know whether or not the Fed chooses to maintain that hawkish hold or actually goes about increasing, Fed rates. But more on that in a bit, because let's start with our earnings action from today. Auto giant Eicher Motors reported strong earnings for its Q1. Net profit jumped to 21% year-on-year to rupees 1,463 crore rupees, even as the revenue and EBITDA beat the estimate. In fact, the company also approved a 2,500 crore rupee investment for a greenfield plant expansion this quarter. My colleague Avi joins us with some more numbers. Avi, take it away.
So Eicher Motors has come out with its Q1 FY27 numbers, and let's have a look at the 6 most important points. Starting off from the financials, the numbers are good with the revenue and profitability in line, and EBITDA being a beat on the estimates. The margins have also held its place at around 24%, which was our estimate at 23.9%. But the standalone margins for Royal Enfield have seen a contraction of 80 bips on a yearly basis, but in line with our estimates. Up next is the news that the Royal Enfield is now participating in the EV race and have launched their first EV motorcycle, the Flying Flea is C6, and have made 100 deliveries in the past 2 months. Another big news from Eicher Motors is the capex that they've announced of 2,500 crore rupees, and that is a greenfield capex in Andhra Pradesh. They will take their total production capacity to 24.5 lakh motorcycles per year by FY30. So that is a big news coming in. The margins have seen a headwind of 4 to 4.5% on gross margins in Q1 due to commodity cost inflation, and margins can also be seen under a pressure going forward in Q2. But the international business has done very well and has crossed 1,000 crore rupees for the first time, making up almost 15% of the overall revenues. The Brazil has been the biggest export market, while green shoots have been seen in the US market post the trade deal. Our last pick would be the non-vehicle business for Eicher Motors, that is the accessories, spares and apparel, growing at 30% and making 15% of the revenue for Eicher Motors. So all in all, a good set of numbers with EBITDA beating the estimates and the revenue and profitability in line, with margins coming in at 24%, which was what we expected here at DT Now.
Thanks, Avi, for that. Now, strong performance by Asian Paints in the first quarter, with all the major metrics coming in higher than what the street was penciling in. Revenue rose around 18% to 10,542 crore, while PAT reported a near 40% jump to over 1,500 crore. Robust performance seen in decorative business. My colleague Rabinder joins in with more details.
Well, yes, it was a strong quarter for the Asian Paint Company. Reported revenue growth of 18% on a yearly basis to rupees 10,541 crore, which was driven by healthy demand and the pricing, and company's EBITDA margin has expanded to 20.56% on a yearly basis, which was above the street estimate. And this was supported by better pricing and improved product mix and sourcing efficiencies and disciplined cost management. And net profit has also surged by 40%, which was aided by strong operational performance and a 25% yearly basis increase in other income. And if we talk about the volume growth, then company reported volume growth of 9% in decorative segment, which was in line with the street estimate, with the value growth of 16.6% on a yearly basis. And the company's industrial coating business also maintained its strong momentum, delivering a 16% value growth, resulting into broad-based growth across the coating portfolio of the Asian Paint. And if we talk about the other segment also, then company's international business reported a strong growth of 27% on a yearly basis. And apart from this, on the home decor business, company's bath fitting business, kitchen business, and White Teak and Weatherser has also reported a good set of number in Q1 FY27. And if we talk the management commentary, then the management has said that the company has started FY27 on a strong note, building on a momentum of the previous quarter. And going forward, despite volatility in raw material prices, the company will remain agile and continue to focus on innovation, customer centricity and cost efficiency to sustain profitability and strengthen the company's market position.
Right, moving on. The government has expressed confidence that the proposed India-US bilateral trade agreement will in fact be concluded once India's demand for a comparative advantage is addressed. Officials said that both sides have already finalized several aspects of the pact, with discussions continuing on outstanding issues, including those related to Section 301 investigations. The government clarified that the US tariffs stem from one investigation, with other aspects of the probe still under discussion. It, however, declined to comment on speculation surrounding the proposed US sanctions bill. linked to purchases of Russian energy, saying that negotiations with Washington are in fact continuing. Here's what Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal had to say.
I have very categorically and on several occasions expressed the confidence that what we have finalized with the US as the first tranche of the bilateral trade agreement, which was announced by our leaders on 3rd of February, will come into operation as soon as the United States is able to ensure that we get a comparative advantage over our competitors, the countries in our neighborhood, the countries in the ASEAN region and other countries with whom we compete. That was the basis of our first tranche of the BTA. And once that basis is re-established, the US BTA will be ready, up and about.
Now, all eyes are on Federal Reserve's decision tonight. FOMC outcome is expected shortly, while the two-day meeting in Washington. Inflation has been stuck above Fed's 2% target for more than 5 years. Now, new Fed Chair Kevin Walsh told Congress earlier this month that he had no tolerance for elevated inflation. With this being Walsh's second policy meeting this week, the outcome will be closely watched. My colleague Avi is in fact here to get us more details on what to expect.
So the Fed is widely expected to hold the rates unchanged in a hawkish hold, keeping the September hike on the table, and Wash's tone on inflation and policy restrictiveness will be the key market triggers. So what are the decision and what? The Fed is universally expected to keep the rates unchanged at 3.5%, 3.75%, with the markets pricing in 35% of chance of a hike this week, with a 75% chance of a September hike, of at least one hike by September. So the key question is, does Wash signal a September hike, or does he demand more data for it? Any inflation language like any upgrade to elevated and broad-based would be a hawkish signal. So all in all, the FOMC is widely expected to keep the rates unchanged at 3.5%, 3.75%.
And ahead of that Federal Open Market Committee outcome and amid global oil rallies, the Dow Jones Industrial Average slid 1.4% lower. The S&P 500 shed about 0.7%, while the Nasdaq Composite slid 0.9%. Oil prices extended on the back of US President Donald Trump's comments that America will in fact hit Iran hard. The WTI oil advanced 6.9% to trade at about $89.88 to the barrel, while the Brent jumped over 6% to trade at above the $89 per barrel mark. Avi, in fact, is back with us for more updates on that.
So let's have a look at some of the global indices, starting off from Nasdaq, which is down by around 0.6% and is down 180 points at 27,589. And the Nasdaq has also fallen by around 0.6% at 24,730. Talking about the S&P 500, it is down by around 0.5% at 7,390, while the Dow Jones is down by around 1.3% at 52,000 mark. So this is the fall that we are seeing in the global indices, and the reason for it is the rally in the oil prices, as Brent is now up around 6% at $86.96 per barrel, while the crude is also up by 6.5% at $84.42 per barrel. So the rally in oil prices is causing the global indices to fall, and that is something that will be on the cards to watch out for.
Now, the Finance Ministry issues July's economic review, and India's macro fundamentals and domestic demand remain supportive of growth despite heightened global uncertainty. However, the government remains cautious on inflation, with rising crude prices and geopolitical tensions posing the risk to inflation, at the fiscal deficit and the current account. The external sector remains resilient, supported by strong exports and remittance flows.
Well, the Finance Ministry has come out with the monthly economic review report for July, which suggests that the global economy continues to face uncertainties amid geopolitical tensions. However, Indian economy has shown a strong resilience in the face of geopolitical uncertainties. In fact, all key economic indicators have shown positive signal. In fact, the report suggests that India's strong macroeconomic fundamentals and domestic demand are expected to continue supporting economic activities. Domestic inflation outlook remains cautious on the back of fluctuations in global crude oil prices and, of course, potential impact of El Nino. India's external sector exhibits notable resilience. The report adds that their strong export performance and consistent remittance flows have strengthened the current account. Along with that, recent policy measures will provide an impetus to capital inflows in the near term. In fact, you are aware of the fact that the government has already provided exemption in long-term capital gains tax to FPIs and FIIs on their investment in government securities, and that will support the Indian economy going forward. In addition to that, the report has also mentioned that recent resurgence in global crude oil prices, if sustained, could re-emerge as a source of pressure on fiscal deficit and current account balance. And therefore, the upside risk to inflation, fiscal conditions, and current account deficit and downside risk to growth remain in the wake of persistent standoff in the Gulf region.
Moving on, the IRDAI has approved the Policyholders Education and Protection Fund regulations to strengthen insurance awareness and grievance redressal. The insurance regulator has also introduced perpetual registration for insurance intermediaries, thereby removing the need for periodic removals. My colleague Anurag Shah is here with the details.
Couple of decisions are taken up in 137th board meeting of IRDA, and mainly it's related to the implementation of Insurance Act Amendment Sabka Bima Sabki Raksha, which was passed in the beginning of this year. So the first one is that IRDA has approved the Policyholders Education and Protection Fund, which is of 800 crore. So this fund has been approved, and the important one is related to the policy holder. So every insurance policy, whether it's sold through the bank branch or through a distributor, a salesperson tagging will be there to avoid the mis-selling complaints. So salesperson tagging to every individual policies will be there. IRDA has also introduced the perpetual registration for insurance intermediaries. So insurance intermediaries need to take license only once, and it will be a perpetual license. IRDA to strengthen transparency and accountability in insurance distribution, IRDA approved the new penalty framework for insurers and intermediaries. So this will be tough for insurance companies and intermediaries because heavy penalties will be there on breaching rules. The one insurance company's license also approved. So Protect General Insurance Company has given a new license. So license has been approved in the board meeting. And in year 2026, this is the fourth license approved by the regulator. So two foreign insurers has increased the FDI limit after the 100% FDI limit allowed. Now there are two insurers who has increased the FDI limit beyond the 74%. And IRDA is also saying that good response from foreign players for after the 100% FDI approval. So couple of decisions taken up in IRDA's 137th board meeting.
Right, Anurag, thank you so much for that. Now, the Maharashtra Food and Drug Administration has detected all the government-aided private schools to completely eliminate the sale of junk food from their campuses. The order bans chocolate chips, cold drinks, caffeinated beverages and other foods high in fat, sugar and salt, while also prohibiting their advertisement within a 50-meter radius of the schools. FDA Commissioner Tukaram Munde said the move is aimed at promoting healthier eating habits among children, adding that even food prepared with Ajinomoto should not be sold in or around schools. Schools have also been instructed to promote healthier options such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains and dairy products in line with FSSAI's 2020 regulations.
And amid a huge ruckus and chaos, the Lok Sabha has finally passed the Public Examination Amendment Bill of 2026 that aims to make punishment more stringent in paper leak cases. Now, the passage of the bill came after a heated debate in the lower house of the parliament. My colleague Prakash brings us a roundup of everything that transpired within Parliament today.
Well, amid huge uproar, the Lok Sabha passes the Public Examinations Prevention of Unfair Means Amendment Bill 2026 through a voice vote. In fact, the bill endorses some stricter provision to prevent paper leaks cases in the future. Earlier in the day, Lok Sabha resumed the debate on anti-paper leak bill. Several speakers from both sides participated in debate. In fact, Leader of Opposition Rahul Gandhi got an opportunity to speak today. He raised some important issues. He raised the issue of alleged use of pellet gun and firing against students. In fact, he also raised, he also demanded Home Minister to come to the floor and make statement. Opposition parties were demanding the Home Minister's absence in the, were raising questions on the Home Minister's absence in the House, and they were demanding reply from the Home Minister. In fact, Rahul Gandhi made it very clear that he wants a reply from the government side if Home Minister did not give an order to use pellet gun or bullets against a student, then who did? However, he used some unparliamentary language as well during the course of discussion, which was objected by the Treasury benches, and they were Treasury benches demanding the Leader of Opposition's apology. Therefore, there was huge uproar in the House. However, while replying to the debate, Union Minister Jitendra Singh made it very clear that there is no question of further clarification, and there were no shots used against the student, only tear gas was used, and therefore there is no requirement of further clarification from the government side. He also made it very clear that authority to provide any such order rests with the magistrate, not with minister, and therefore there is no use of further clarification from the government side as bullets were not fired. Meanwhile, amid huge uproar, the Lok Sabha passes the anti-paper leak bill with some stricter provisions. Back to you.
Right, now more than a year after the AI 171 crash in Ahmedabad, the government has told the parliament that there is no delay in aircraft accident investigation. Bureau's final report. Responding to the questions in Raj Sabha, the Civil Aviation Ministry said the investigations into major air accidents cannot be bound by fixed timelines as they involve multiple variables and every possible cause must be thoroughly examined. The government said all probable causes and contributing factors, including pilot conduct, if required, remain under investigation. It has also revealed that the DGCA carried out OEM-level testing of the aircraft's fuel control switch locking mechanism in Seattle, where no abnormalities were detected, although further inspection of the complete thrust control module is still underway. The ministry has assured that the final report, along with all its findings, will be made public once the investigation is fully completed.
Meanwhile, in tragic news from Japan, a devastating 7.1 magnitude earthquake has struck the country's Kumamoto prefecture, leaving dozens dead and many hundreds injured as rescue operations continue through the night. Now, one of the worst hit sites is a partially collapsed shopping mall where a powerful explosion triggered by a suspected gas leak caused sections of the building to cave in, thereby trapping shoppers and staff under the debris. Nearly 3 lakh people have been asked to evacuate to emergency shelters, while thousands of homes remain without electricity. Roads, bridges and other critical infrastructure have suffered extensive damage, hampering rescue efforts as strong aftershocks continue to shake the region. The Japanese government has deployed 3,600 self-defense force personnel along with emergency responders to search for survivors and provide relief, even as Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi has in fact urged residents to remain alert and move to safe locations. This even as authorities continue to assess the full scale of the disaster.
Right, now the Indian contingent continues to shine at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, adding 2 more silver medals to its tally. Harjinder Kaur clinched silver in the women's 69 kg weightlifting event. taking India's weightlifting medal haul to 6. On the track, Gulveer Singh scripted history with silver in men's 10,000 meters, becoming the first Indian to win a Commonwealth Games medal in the event. With these 2 medals, India's overall tally stands at 12, which is 2 gold, 7 silver and 3 bronze.
Moving on, more than 250 of India's top technology leaders are set to gather in Jaipur for the 27th ET Edge CIO and Leader Conference, where the focus will be on agentic AI, the next evolution of enterprise AI that can act autonomously rather than simply assist. The 4-day event will bring together CIOs, CTOs, and digital leaders to discuss AI governance, cybersecurity, deployment at scale, and how businesses can generate real returns from AI investments.
With that's a wrap on this edition of Business at 9. Goodbye from me, Shibani Gharat, and my colleague Jude Sanit and the entire team of ET Now.